My Missing Piece, a collection of stories from amputees for anyone navigating loss, reclaiming strength, and redefining possibility. The Amputee Center and Ohio University's College of Health Sciences and Professions are proud to collaborate in launching an innovative podcast series that highlights resilience, empowerment, and community. This partnership unites expertise in education and rehabilitation to amplify the voices of amputees, share inspiring stories, and foster meaningful conversations on accessibility and well-being. By leveraging the Amputee Center's deep-rooted commitment to advocacy and CHSP's studio resources, this initiative will serve as a platform for education, inclusion, and support for individuals navigating life after losing a limb. We are excited to bring this vision to life and create lasting impact together. So today we have with us Erin from Charleston, West Virginia, and she is an above-the-knee amputee on the left side. Is that correct?
Right.
On the right side. So she is a left above-the-knee right side. And welcome. We're so happy to have you. Hello.
Hi.
So we're gonna jump in, and I really like to initially start with life before amputation, and I know yours was very early in life, so feel free just to kind of give us a feel for what memories you had of life and when things started to what you liked to do, the body you remember and how it felt, and all of that stuff that maybe people don't think about because they just see you with the prosthetic. But what was life like before the amputation?
Well, I was a very active kid. I was always out in the neighborhood, running around, riding bikes, playing in the woods, coming home with leaves in my hair, sticks, etc., with the curly hair, everything stuck to it. So I was pretty rough and rowdy. I had a lot of neighbors that were boys, so I played just as hard with the boys as they did. So it's really just rough and tumble, running around, playing games and all that stuff. And I had this urge in middle school to join the track team, which was really out of character for me, but I kind of wanted to be cooler or more popular, and all of the popular kids in my school were athletes. So I decided to try out for the track team, um, and that was in seventh grade. Um, so I was a slow runner, but at least I ran. And they signed me up for the 200-meter at our first track meet. And when I was running in the first 100 meters, there was just a noticeable, like, kind of a pop in my knee. And I kind of limped across the finish line. So after that, um, I kind of was just in recovery mode. We didn't think too much of it. We went to the doctor and they're like, oh yeah, she's fine. Just give it some rest and then keep at it. It'll take a couple months. It's probably shin splints because it just wasn't getting better. So over time, I completely lost my ability to run. This was still in seventh grade, in summer before eighth grade. And I started to notice in August of that year, which was not giving my age away, but well, I guess I'll give my age away. It was August 1999 when I noticed not only was I unable to run anymore, keep up with my friends, but there was a bump growing on my leg. The only way that I found this out was that I was getting ready for the first school dance of the school year in eighth grade. Again, I wanted to be one of the more popular cool kids. So I was like I'm going to be a little girlier. I'm going to wear a dress to the first school dance rather than my typical blue jeans. Um, so we went to the store and I tried on a couple dresses, and there was a full body mirror. We didn't have a full body mirror in my parents' house at the time, so this was the first time I was able to stand in front of a mirror and see my whole body. And I looked at my legs and I was like, Mom, my legs are lopsided. And she's like, yeah, okay. I could tell she was a little concerned, but she didn't want to concern me.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up going to the doctor, and then they're like, yes, there's something growing here. And me having my sick sense of humor, I said, yeah, it's my twin. A twin. So they're like, they didn't laugh, and I was kind of disappointed in that. But then I had a slew of appointments in that 1 week, from like blood work to CT scans, MRI, and ultimately had a biopsy at the end of the week. And this was all in September 1999. Um, and then at the end of that week, the doctor, before getting pathology back, went to my parents while I was in recovery and said he knew what it was. He knew it was osteosarcoma, which is bone cancer. And everything from then on was kind of a whirlwind because, I mean, none of us knew what to expect. I'd already lost my ability to run just from the tumor. So my activity level was declining. And then had to be wheelchair bound because they were afraid if I walked on the leg, it would shatter it. So I ended up being wheelchair bound, started chemotherapy, lost all my hair, which I didn't care about at the time because in 8th grade, I was like, I don't like my curly hair, straight hair. And then I was like, or I can just be bald. So I wore the cool bucket hats, which were really awesome in 1999. And a few months into that, they went up to Morgantown, West Virginia, where my surgeon was. And we had a follow-up appointment just to kind of review what all had happened, and what the progress, what we would do going forward. And in that appointment, it was right before Christmas, like 2 weeks before Christmas. And he said they're going to have to amputate the leg above the knee, because the tumor had grown and it had gone behind my knee and it was all the way down into my ankle. And my foot was starting to turn blue just from cutting off the circulation. So as a 13-year-old girl, that was not the news that I wanted to get right before Christmas. So I didn't really say anything. I just put my head down on the table and didn't say a word until we got in the car. My dad drove us around Morgantown because he was like, I can't get on the interstate and drive home right now. And then he was just trying to say cheerful things, and the mom was pretty silent too. But then at some point, I don't know what my dad said. I think he may have said, like, well, Erin, I think you're going to be okay. And I said, these are the first words I say since finding out I have to lose my leg. I say, at least I won't have to shave that leg anymore. Which is true. That's one of the benefits is only having to shave one leg.
Wow.
So ultimately, in January 2000, my leg was amputated above the knee, and a portion of my left lung was removed because the tumors had spread to both of my lungs.
Oh my gosh. And this was, you had August was when you stopped. It progressed that fast, and you
Yeah,
had chemo.
it was aggressive, and I had chemo, and it had still spread.
Yeah, that's, oh my gosh, that's
So
wild.
I didn't know this until later, like much later in life. But at that time, before the surgery, they had told my parents that the prognosis was that I had maybe a 2% chance of survival. And then with the surgery, they said it was touch and go. There were times where they thought they were going to lose me on the operating table. So I didn't know any of this at the time. So I was just keep on trucking. This is just a minor inconvenience. Going to get back to doing the things that I want to do as soon as possible. Um, so one thing they did for me that I'm not sure if they do it anymore or all the time or what, but they put a prosthesis on me immediately. So like they amputated leg and put like a prosthesis on me. It had a big socket to allow for swelling, but I had like a pylon with a knee and a foot. And they said that was supposed to help with future phantom pain,
Oh.
because you could see that you still had something there.
Mm.
Now, it wasn't like that leg was not the most functional to learn to walk on, but that's what I learned to walk on. I called it like a hinge on a pole
Mm-hmm.
because it had no support whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
So flash forward a few months, I took my first steps unassisted in April 2000, which was 4 months after the surgery. But again, I was super weak at the time. I didn't have much ability to move around really because I was so weak from the chemotherapy. I weighed 55 pounds and was like 5 feet tall.
Mm.
So this pictures of me at that time are kind of startling. Just I looked like a little skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
But I got through all that. I did my best to try to walk. I did lie to my physical therapist a lot about doing my exercises because I was stubborn. So he told me to keep a notebook with my physical therapy exercises in it. And what I would do is I would write the exercises down and how many I was supposed to do. And then I would just make up numbers.
Well, I'll
So,
tell you, we know when you do that because
yeah, I'm sure
he
he knew.
knew.
His name is Zach. But still, somehow I managed to become an active adult because eventually I did start doing my exercise. I did them, just not as much as I was supposed to.
Well, it seems like right on, that tracks for the age. You were supposed to rebel against something.
Rebellious, stubborn. I mean, that's the only thing I could do, be in control of at that time,
Mm-hmm.
because I had no control over the rest of my life because I was so sick. And the things that I could control was going to school. So I made sure that I went to school every chance I got. They had to enroll me in homeschool just so that I wouldn't be held back a year. I was a super intelligent kid, so being held back a year just because I was sick just didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I still did my schoolwork. When I wasn't able to go to school, I still did my schoolwork at home, and I ended up making straight A's, going through all that. So, yeah, and then I got another prosthesis after about a year that had more like hydraulic and had a little bit more support in the knee, like a bumper and all that. So from there, my activity level started to increase quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
It still wasn't the best, but I was walking around the neighborhood on uneven terrain, getting on the trampoline with my neighbors, which was always really funny. a fun trampoline story is that we were on the trampoline and I fell down, so I was just on my butt bouncing, and my friend grabbed my legs, and then my leg fell, and he about fell off the trampoline because he was like, "Oh my God, I ripped your leg off."
That's great.
But that's the joy of being a kid going through something like that.
You get cool
And
party
then,
tricks that nobody else has.
yeah. So ultimately, I finished chemo, and then had all the follow-ups and everything. And I had my port taken out, which was a big deal. But the day that I had my port taken out, they called me up to oncology to just have a follow-up appointment. Um, and in that appointment, they told me that the cancer had returned in my lungs, or it appeared that it had returned in my lungs. They didn't know
Mm.
if it was cancerous at that time, but it was highly suspected it would be. So then in November 2001 and December 2001, I had surgeries first on the right lung and then on the left lung in December, to remove any tumors that were still there. So my surgeon was a little aggressive. He got in there and was like squeezing around, taking any tissue that he thought seemed weird. And that may have been what saved my life, is him being so aggressive and probably taking more tissue than he needed. Um, so at that time, I had to start chemo again, which was not what I wanted to do. Um, but all the chemotherapy that they tried on my cells wasn't working. So they decided to try like an experimental other chemotherapy that they thought might work. So I started this chemo called topotecan, which I always just imagine like some like tiki guy like pumping his arms like topotecan. like, um, but I started this experimental chemotherapy for my kind of cancer, and at the time that I started treatment, they told my parents, "Here's another thing that I didn't know until I was much older." But they told my parents that the outcome was not good, and that they should probably start making arrangements for my passing.
Ugh.
Again, I didn't know any of this at the time because they just chose not to tell me that kind of information, which I really appreciate. So I just kept fighting. And in August 2002, I finished chemo, and I have been cancer free since. So I was 2002 was, God, how many, 24 years ago? So I'm
Okay.
24 years cancer free as of 2026, which is now. So, and then like going through all of that, going through treatment the second time around, like I was an amputee. So, it was a very different animal, and I was weak and tired and lost my hair again. It was a lot more of a problem for me that time being a teenager. Um, I wore a wig. I didn't like the wig, but at least I had my short, straight hair for a while. And then eventually I just decided, once my hair started to grow back a little bit, I threw the wig off and went with a little buzz cut for the rest of my sophomore year of high school.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it was a wild ride at first, and then being an amputee, as you know, it's a wild ride ever since.
Yeah. So the interesting part is that you had to go back through chemo, but it was for your lungs, not for the leg. One of At the center, one of our amputees, Matt, similar story when he was a teenager, and then he agreed to lose the leg and then to have the leg amputated, and then the chemo stopped. But it's like you had another chapter after that, which, yeah, thankfully there's the surgeons and you had a great team supporting you,
Yeah.
and great
And
parents.
fortunate for me is that my whole care team was in West Virginia,
Mm,
which was incredible because I didn't have to travel far from home.
mm-hmm,
My oncologist was in Charleston, West Virginia. I lived in Cross Lanes, which was 20 minutes away.
mm-hmm,
My surgeons were in Morgantown, so just about 3 hours
mm-hmm,
away from my home. And when I relapsed, my oncologist had moved to Huntington. So then I just went to Huntington for treatment. So everything was within
mm-hmm.
the state of West Virginia, just a few hours. And I had an incredible care team that I'm so thankful that I had at the time.
Mm-hmm. You know, and the point of this library, creating this library of stories, is that we'll have, keywords and people can search for it for forever, and so if parents are going through this and want to hear the story of your thriving, or if somebody is facing the question of do we amputate or not, or that these are things that these are important points along the way that hopefully will help a family in their decision making, and also in navigating healthcare and deciding where to go, and hopefully, yes, we are. That is a huge thing, is that to not have to travel very far, and for your parents to not have to leave you for long periods of time. I mean, that is something that childhood cancer patients face all the time, and just the unspoken stresses of how do you still maintain a job and life and keep going when you've been told this news, and also not tell your child that you've been told this news. Like, that's some resilience. Yeah. That's like,
Yeah.
at what point do they decide, okay, we're going to tell her now?
It happened over dinner when I was in my like late 20s, actually.
You're like, really, guys?
I was like, excuse me? Like, did you say 2% like the milk?
Wow, that's
So,
you're
yeah, I mean, as a
2% like the milk.
result, just because I'm not supposed to be here.
Mm, mm-hmm,
And I've been given this gift of life. So, as you've seen, I try to live each day as if it is a gift that's been given to
mm-hmm.
me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have bad days. Everybody has bad days, but
Mm-hmm,
I try not to let them overwhelm me
mm-hmm.
when they
When you finished high school, I'm sure you were, had great grades and went through high school just wonderfully after that, right? And then leaving the community, though, because no matter what you did next, going into college or another town or something, what was that like? I don't know where you went to college. So what was that like, stepping into that now? Now you're an amputee. Now people meet you and you get to change or adjust the narrative as you want it to be. What was that part of your life, leaving the childhood cancer part behind and stepping into life as an adult with an amputation?
That's actually an amazingly phrased question. I love that because the idea of going to college, for one, I didn't want to stay at home.
Mm.
I wanted to go to WVU, but their campus is so hilly. I wasn't sure it would be the best idea for me to navigate that because all the stairs and everything like that. So I ended up at Marshall. One, it was only an hour away. Two, it was in the same town that my oncologist was at. And three, the campus was all kind of compact and pretty flat.
Mm-hmm.
And then I still got to go live in the dorm and all that stuff. Um, the transition from living at home and going through high school and being like a honor student and all that jazz, um, and going to college, I didn't think it would be as difficult as it was. But going from home to college, I felt like I lost some of my support system. So college, that first year of college was extremely difficult for me. But it was more mentally and socially difficult than physically. So I struggled a lot with depression. I had confidence issues, um, not only in my appearance, because a lot of my appearance issues didn't have anything to do with my leg. It was just my own appearance at the time. I was not happy with certain things about the way I looked. So I mean, ultimately, I almost kind of formed somewhat of an eating disorder, just like a mild one, where I wasn't anorexic or anything, but I was really just not eating enough. And I was dropping weight like crazy. And I started to almost obsess about it in an unhealthy way. So I did start to realize that I was having issues with coping with college, and like I was having a hard time getting up to go to classes. My energy level was really low in general. So I started seeing a therapist on campus. She wasn't really the best, but it was free through student health. Um, she made some assumptions about me that were definitely not great. Just the way that she thought that like I struggled with friendships with women at the time, and a lot of my friends were male, and she saw a huge problem with that and made that known. And so that therapist was not really a good fit for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I at least was able to talk through some things, and I was able to teach her in the process. It felt more like I was teaching her than she was helping me.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of became like self therapy. I mean, I don't really advocate for that, but it was what kind of worked for me at the time,
Mm-hmm.
uh, where I kind of just tried to work things through things by myself.
Mm-hmm.
The social aspect was tough because I wanted to date. I wanted to go on dates with boys and stuff like that, and I struggled in that regard. And then some of my regular friendships were just kind of like up and down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so college was very difficult for the first couple years, especially in the dorm. And I don't know what it was, but sometime in my like junior year when I was living in an apartment, um, it's like everything changed. And actually, like now that I think about it, what happened when I moved in an apartment? Um, I got my first microprocessor knee.
Mm-hmm.
I My insurance wouldn't cover a microprocessor knee at the time, but my prosthetist, who was in Charleston, um, they had a patient who had a microprocessor knee, and they had passed away, and their family wanted to donate the knee to somebody who could use it. So I became the beneficiary of this microprocessor knee. It was the first sea leg, like the blue and silver version of it back in
Mm-hmm.
like 2006. Um, so I really feel like that was a huge turning point in my life, not only for my activity, but also my confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And then that snowballed, like everything else just kind of fell into place because I was able to walk down steps foot over foot. I had not been able to do that since midway through 1999. And here it was 2006. It was the first time I was able to walk downstairs foot over foot,
Wow.
due to having the proper equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so my activity level just went through the roof. I started hiking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I started wearing shorts again, um, little shorty shorts, and I was getting out there and being more social. I was getting more okay with people asking questions or looking because I was purposely showing it off. Um, I didn't have a cover, like a cosmetic cover or anything. Um, in fact, the one time that I did have a cosmetic cover was when I was in high school. and I destroyed that thing. So the story there, to backtrack a little bit, the high school day, Erin, I had a foam cosmetic cover, and I went to summer camp, and I went wading in the creek,
Oh.
and that thing welled up like a water balloon. It was human, like my ankle. It was like the cankliest of cankles, and I actually had to take to relieve the water pressure in my leg. I took pencils and stabbed holes in the cover. And then we were like draining it like upside down on the porch of the cabin
I'm
that
sure there are adults who would not have laughed at that, but it's pretty funny now.
one of my nurses still brings up that story because it was a camp for kids who had cancer,
Mm-mm.
or cancer survivors. So it was a really supportive environment. But she still talks about that story with she's like, tell everybody the story about when your leg got filled with water. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of the foam covers. Maybe they've changed since the early 2000s, but yeah. So the microprocessor journey really was a huge change because I wanted to show it off. It looked cool,
Mm-hmm.
and the covers kind of restricted my mobility anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
I was far more interested in showing my metal at that point.
Yay. That's
Uh,
that's awesome. So you did 4 years at Marshall in Huntington?
yeah, it was really like five
Mm-hmm.
because I changed majors in my senior year, or changed minors in my senior year. I
Mm-hmm.
was I was a public relations major,
Mm-hmm.
and I was minoring in photography. And I finally took an accounting class right before my senior year. I'd been putting it off because everybody in the journalism school who had to take this class was saying it was the worst class in the world and it was so hard and everybody failed it and all that. So I was afraid to take it. Then, of course, what do you know? I take this accounting class. I absolutely excel at it, start tutoring people in accounting. And the professor drags me to the dean's office and begs me to change my major. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I am a senior. I am not staying here another 4 years. And they're like, oh, it won't be 4 years. It would be like
Mm-hmm.
2.5. And I'm like, I don't want to do that either. I need a break. So I did agree to change my minor from photography to accounting.
Mm-hmm.
So and everybody was kind of like, okay, so you're a public relations journalism major with an accounting minor. It's weird. So ultimately, what happened is I worked in marketing for about a year. I decided I did not like working in that field.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back to school for accounting. And here I am many years later as an accounting manager for my company. So accounting ended up being the thing that stuck.
So you stayed in the Huntington Charleston area
Yeah.
because you grew up in Cross Lanes, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a question that I often I put out in this group of stories that we've recorded, is that in each response has been different, but it's about relationships. So, as you have said, and if you would like to share anything that you want to share for other amputees, as stepping into the dating world, being in college, what is it like? What's been a big takeaway for you? And as an example, I'll say our one couple in at the center, they've been together 18 years, and her partner's been there for the 40 plus surgeries, right? So completely different experiences from another amputee that after her amputation decided that this was not a relationship she wanted to keep because it wasn't helping her be healthier, right? So there's a whole spectrum of that. But on the forums for amputees that I look at and see, it is a topic that comes up a lot. So um, just give us a little bit of your thoughts on what it's like dating as an amputee.
I mean, one thing that for me is that I don't identify myself in dating as being like, oh, by the way, like I have one leg. Like I don't put that out there to begin with. It may be different for men and women. And for me, I just don't even mention it.
Mm-hmm.
I just put it out there. Like I wear shorts, I wear dresses. Sometimes people don't even notice.
Mm-hmm.
There was one guy I dated like 15 to 20 years ago or something. I was sitting on his lap at a party and he didn't realize that my leg was fake until he rubbed his hand on my knee and realized like, oh, that's weird. And he's like, whoa.
That's great.
So it's like it's not something that I really like. I don't go out there and be like, oh, I'm an amputee trying to date. I'm just a
Mm-hmm.
person trying to date.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a
Same as anything
great
else,
way
except
right
I
there.
have removable parts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's and that's a great way to put it. But it is something that
It
um,
is always in the back of the mind.
mm-hmm.
Um, Whenever I do meet somebody new, or if I'm set up with somebody where like a blind date or something,
Mm-hmm.
I always ask if I have a friend who's trying to set me up with somebody, I'm like, have you told them
Mm-hmm.
that I'm missing my leg? And I mean, how somebody deals with that, one, it's more of a reflection on them than it is on me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm always very open about it. And if anybody has questions, I always answer the questions. And it's the same with like friendships,
Mm-hmm.
even. Um, I just go through life acting like it's one of the least significant things about me. I have a lot to offer, personality wise, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I just don't, it's never been something where I'm like, oh, I can't do this because of my leg, either in dating or in anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I do have challenges, and I do like if I stay over somewhere, like an overnight at somebody's house, like I have to have my little bag of stuff so that I can take my leg off and on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like regular people do not have to think about that when they're like going to somebody's house after a date. Like, am I going to have to take my leg off tonight?
I feel like
And
that
then is it
this
presumptuous if I do bring this stuff?
and there's
Like,
it can fall under the quote, I shaved my leg for this.
yeah, I mean, basically, like,
I took my leg off for this.
yeah. And so there, it was this really funny story. Just like dating as an amputee, um, I was seeing a guy, and I went over his house and everything. I did not have my stuff to put my leg back on. So, I mean, things got hot and heavy, whatever, et cetera, dot, dot, dot. Um, and then I needed to put my leg back on. And I was like, crap, I don't have my leg lotion. I don't have anything to put my leg back on. So I asked him, I was like, hey, do you have any like hand lotion? I was like, I can use that in a pinch. So he brought me two different kinds.
Oh.
He had one that was scented and one that was unscented. He's like, yeah, I found this like raspberry scented one in the bathroom and then I have this one that's unscented that's more for like sensitive skin. And I was like, I'll use the unscented sensitive skin one. Thank you very much. But I was like, it's just stuck in my head as just funny because it's like, who thinks of that as being something you got to think
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think that's a valid story to add to this library. Thank you so much for
about?
sharing. Thank you for sharing that. Um, and good on him to just offer you two options.
Providing options is just the same as having feminine hygiene products on hand.
Yes, absolutely. So I do have a question about your prosthetic because, you know, where were we? And Dory took her leg off, right? Because it's below the knee. And
Yeah,
you made a comment and you were like, I can't do that because it's not going back on. So
yeah.
how is yours different as it's above the knee?
Well, for one, I'm kind of an oddball anyway.
Mm,
my socket, I have a Moz socket. It's like MAS. And I'm skin fit.
Mm.
So I don't wear a liner. I just use a lotion, and my leg holds on with suction, and there's
Okay.
like a little valve and all that. So what for one, it's harder for me to pop my leg off because I do need something like lotion to put it back on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so if I don't have the lotion, then I have to find something else. I mean, I've used tap water before in a pinch. It
Mm-hmm.
just knowing I need to get to my lotion at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Like where I've been at work and I've had like a fit issue and I have to like pop it off.
Mm-hmm.
And now I keep lotion at work because
Mm-hmm.
that was a great day walking around with tap water leg. Uh, it just dries the skin out
Yeah.
if I don't have the proper material.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then another thing for being an above the knee is that when I pop my leg off, like, I mean, it goes all the way up. So it's like up to my hip almost. So it involves like if I have pants on,
Mm-hmm.
like I would have to remove my pants.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people may be down for that, but
Yeah.
it depends on the company.
Well, I think
Now, if
it
I have
was
shorts or a dress,
right.
it can come off easier. But
Mm-hmm.
then putting it back on, I have to like get the lotion. I have to like roll the
Mm-hmm.
clothing so that I can apply the lotion. So I mean, it took years before I would take my leg off in public.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like even going to the pool or anything. So
Mm-hmm.
now I know my what I need to do and what I need to have. So I just have it.
So, did you ever have any problems with phantom pain?
Not really. Immediately post surgery, yes. And then with certain medications that I was
Mm-hmm.
on, they would flare it up. Like whenever I had to take Phenergan for nausea,
Mm.
that made me like hallucinate, and it also made me feel like I had pain in my leg, and it always the way I described it was like hamsters biting my toes,
Ugh.
and that's just the way I always described it. Um, or it would feel like my leg was bending backward.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so those were the kind of pains that I felt. But I fortunately haven't had many issues with phantom pain.
Mm-hmm.
Now I sometimes will get a night where like my legs are more restless, usually when I'm having a time of stress,
Mm-hmm.
or if I'm really dehydrated or I'm like inflamed, um, then I may have like the wiggles,
Mm-hmm.
restless legs, and I might get like an electrical feeling kind of like shoot down my leg.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like I don't have a knee or a foot, but a lot of times I will feel the sensations like in my foot,
Mm-hmm.
usually where I feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I can feel my toes and they're not there.
Mm-hmm. That's so
And this is
interesting.
26 years later.
Mm-hmm. It's just, I mean, the nervous system in the human body is just, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's, but I'm just curious, as you said, they put that prosthetic on you right post surgery. And I haven't heard of anyone doing that. In,
Yeah.
so,
Not sure the
so maybe,
comment that I think insurance doesn't want to pay for that,
oh,
is my assumption. Because, I mean, right now, the best, referring above the knee, probably the best thing to have post surgery or like when recovery and everything would be like the microprocessor knee.
mm-hmm. And,
And
and to look
insurance,
down and see a leg. I think that
yeah,
that
and
also
for
is,
me, just looking down and seeing a leg
mm-hmm.
was helpful. And it wasn't even like looking like a leg. It
Mm-hmm.
was just a hole with a foot on it. But I think that helped in my brain,
Mm-hmm.
to relieve some of the phantom pain I could have had.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I had a really good surgeon, a really clean surgery, so I
Good.
never needed any revisions or anything. I've never had any nerve issues.
Mm-hmm. That's a blessing. So
Yeah.
you mentioned, I heard we were in a Zoom meeting the other day, and you mentioned that you don't have a running leg. You don't have
Yeah.
a knee that can run.
Yeah. I now the knee I have now, I think I could program it to have a running mode.
Yeah.
Because there's like a cycling mode and all that stuff. It's the Quattro from Proteor.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool plug here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But previously, I really wanted to get back into running just for physical health and fitness. And plus, running blades look really cool. Um, I was never able to get one because insurance wouldn't pay for it. Um, but I somehow lucked into my Franken parts. So I had like there was a foot that was like somebody else had ordered and then they missed the return period. So then like I bought it off of them from through my processist or whatever. And then I had a knee that was given to me by an organization in Florida called 50 Legs. So they kind of put it all together for me, but it was like a foot that I'd gotten from somebody else, a knee that had been somebody else's, and they put all that together with all these used parts. And the thing is that I did run, um, but my confidence wasn't there
Mm.
with the knee. I was so afraid of hitting the floor, because you're going pretty fast. And I had not gone fast for many years. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a strange sensation. I was never able to get over the confidence aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, I never got to use the leg. But that's also because I wasn't able to get the leg earlier in my care
Mm-hmm.
when it probably could have been very beneficial for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that Andy lost his leg at 13, and he didn't get a prosthetic until he was 16. Zero, none,
None?
none.
Wow.
Um, and then when, at age 48, he looked at me and said, I haven't ran since I was 13.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, like there's just such a, oh, it's
You
such,
don't think about things like
and
that.
it's part of like the part of your childhood that you lost, especially since you had
Yeah.
just said like, I'm going to run track.
Yeah.
So there is those multiple levels of what physical activity does for you, that you were looking for the track team. You were looking for things that would have, helped in your self-esteem and your body image and all these things that, you know, not being on having a running leg or having a more athletic leg earlier and quickly into your teenage and college years, may have put you out on the dance floor sooner, right? It may have.
I mean,
um,
sure. And the thing is that, like, ultimately, as I do with everything in life, I adapted, I've overcome, la la la. But it would have been so much easier if I was provided this equipment years ago.
mm,
And as of right now, like, if somebody were to give me a running leg right now, I wouldn't take it because I know that it's like I'm 40 years old. I don't really feel like going jogging anytime soon.
mm-hmm,
But I do want a knee that lets me go hiking and more low impact activity.
mm-hmm,
So I'm getting ready to go through the insurance battle to get a new prosthesis. So like I have all of my paperwork written up, like I have all the stuff that because the doctor has to say the right things in order for it to be covered.
mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, it's like a game that you're playing, and the reward is the ability to move.
Right, right. The reward is it's a game on your actual life and
Yeah.
well-being. Like,
And I'm like, they don't ask questions about some other surgeries or like procedures and things like that that help with mobility. So it seems strange that there's so many questions revolving about like, well, do you really need this leg? And I'm like, yeah. Do you need yours? Do you want to give it to me?
maybe not respond that way.
I mean, sometimes I get very frustrated, and
Hmm.
that's really what I'm gonna say.
Uh,
Do you
so,
think I don't deserve to walk?
well, I mean, it's absolutely, when we look at all of the things uh, one of the best quotes from Dory, she traveled the world, she lived this amazing life in her 20s, and all the stuff that she did, and now she still travels and she still has fun and all those things, but she's like, it just was easier. And
Mhm.
so to think about where you get your hotel room, do you get a shower chair? Do you have to fight for it? Do you have to keep going back and try to check in 4 times for people to get it right?
Mhm.
Um, it's a part of advocacy in that being disabled, and I don't even like to use that word, but falling under that category, that it just we're all 1 second from being in that category. Everybody is, not amputation, but just needing adaptive something. Um, Not just tripping on a banana peel, or just aging in general.
Yeah.
Um, so I
Accidents happen.
accidents
So
happen, and we're all 1 second from that. And I think that the positive things in the world of advocacy is that you were already on a path of a strong community, a strong family, um, great ties, in your town, um, probably good education up to that point, and still getting good grades. So being able to be in a position to tell your story and say, you can make it through cancer treatments and still get homeschool and stay on track, and you can go through amputation and still go to college. And so I think there's those levels of, like, the word resiliency, or like you've said, like inspiration porn. Like, it's not all so much be resilient, be inspiring, but we need it. It's
yeah,
needed. It's needed. You have to be able to look at somebody and say, not every day is great. Not every day is, that we want to celebrate, but not every day also is horrible. And
yeah,
so, finding that balance, and in that is, and to have the platform and the voice for the advocacy, and being able to tell your story, and being able to tell your story with such gratitude of, like, 2%. Like, I
yeah.
had a 2% chance. um, I love that. I just love that so much.
And really, for me, like amputation is like just part of my story. Like since then, I've lived my whole life. Um, I like for one thing, like I'm in the school that disability is not a bad word. It's just because I mean I have friends. She says like, well, you're not disabled. I'm like, I am. And they're like, well, you don't seem disabled. I'm like, you might want to rethink that. Like, rethink your thoughts about what that word means.
Mm-hmm.
Disabled doesn't mean enable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it doesn't mean incapable. It just
Mm-hmm.
means you have to adapt to do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so like since getting like my prosthesis and like the microprocessor prosthesis and everything, like graduating college and my life made like some of the most amazing things have happened that were like beyond my wildest dreams. Like I started going back to amputee coalition conferences. I made connections there that like thrust me into being an international model for prosthetic company.
I
Like I
did see
model
your picture
prosthetic.
yesterday. I was flipping through the newest episode, the newest Amplitude. Is that the?
Yeah,
Yes, and
you'll see me in there.
maybe
Like
bring a
so it's like
Sharpie so you can sign it for me next time.
I yeah, maybe I will. I'll do a little autograph stash there. To Kat, who I met at salsa dancing.
Yes, yeah, stepping out of your comfort zone, literally.
And
Um,
I mean, my big story and like my big thing is really stepping out of my comfort zone has gotten me everywhere that I've been.
mhm.
Um, so like in my just in my community, not necessarily like amputee related, but I joined a women's organization that did volunteer work, and from there, like I've made so many connections and friendships in town that I've been able to serve on boards, and that I've had this great support network of movers and shakers who really like whenever I have a question, I have somebody that I can ask. So like with this legislation for so everybody can move, like I had people that I could ask to make connections so that may like hopefully we can get this bill passed as soon as possible. And like I had to do that. I don't want to say on my own because it's not on my own. It's my community got me there,
Mhm.
but I had to step out of my comfort zone in order to get there. I had to step outside of my little box of comfort and just go out and do the things. And so that's what I've been doing. It's like I got to model for prosthetic companies. I've traveled the world for vacations and for fun, and I've traveled the country with prosthetic companies to do like photo shoots and like advocacy work and trainings and conferences and stuff like that. Um, so it's really, for me, I'm like, what's next? Like, there's so many cool things on the horizon, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And like a personal story, just another one. I like you know that I like to sing,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and you've only known me as somebody who liked to sing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I always liked to sing, but I never liked to sing publicly. I did not sing in front of people until May 2024.
Wow. I would
First
not
time
believe
I
that.
did karaoke. Um, and I was so scared, and my friends were there, and they were like, I was like, like I waited forever, and it was like toward the end of the evening, and I'm like, I'm gonna try it. And I got up there, and I was like, this is great. And then every month in this leadership program I was in, we all went and did karaoke. And then I just kept doing it, and then I started doing it by myself back home. Um, and then I joined like an a cappella chorus group, and now I'm going to start auditioning for like musical theater. So like,
Oh my gosh. I
and
love that so
I
much.
never sang publicly until 2024. That was 2 years ago. Like,
I love that so much. I was watching a video that was posted of you singing recently, and the crowd singing along and cheering and dancing
yeah,
and everything. And the power of that shot also is there's nothing about that shot that is about an amputee necessarily. It's a beautiful, fun crowd. There's no comments about the amputation, but you're wearing a short skirt. You can see the metal, and you can hear you singing. As much as we need to call attention to it, it's also great to like do
yeah,
those moments where it's like, you're right. This is the least interesting thing about me right now. I mean, did you see my outfit? Did you hear my voice? Did you see me out like entertaining these people? And this is just a secondary thing about me. And so in when people find these stories in this library that they're saying like in the moment of like new to amputation, when it's all that
yeah,
defines them, that part of the journey is to get to a point that that's not what defines you anymore. So maybe that's the goal, right? Maybe that's can we get to a point that this is just one of the things about me, but there's
yeah,
all these other things as well. Um,
yeah. And it's hard at first. Like, it was very hard at first to get into that mindset that,
mm,
because when I was first going through it, like I was very like I noticed the stares, and they bothered me. But now if somebody's staring, like I don't care. I don't even notice half the time.
mm,
Um, and the comments, like I don't notice or care half the time. Most people are kind and they're just curious. Because it's not something you see every day.
mm,
So it's like if you think somebody's laughing at you, they probably aren't.
mm.
Like, I mean, there may be some guy out there who's a total buttwad, but who does that, but that's a reflection on them than on you. Uh,
Absolutely.
and so, I mean, kids ask some of the funniest questions. And like, I had a little girl at Disney World ask me, she started asking a lot of questions, and I was answering them like pretty honestly. I usually keep things like age appropriate. I don't have like a shark story or anything like that. I just say like, well, the doctors had to give me this cool robot leg, like
Hmm.
do what I say. And this little girl goes, "Did you have bones in your leg when you were born?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I had bones." And she's like, "What about blood?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah." I was like, "But I'm part robot now, so I don't need that."
Oh my gosh. That's so funny. But it's okay. That's like that is where advocacy and getting out and doing stuff in public um, prepares people once they see. That's why I like to take amputees out in force I'll take
Yeah.
groups of a dozen of them to the lake or to a theater,
Oh, that's
or
always fun.
or out to dinner, because it's like, why, if you're unsure that they're going to stare at you, how about give them 10 things to stare at?
Mm.
you know,
We
eh,
did we did that at Disneyland when I was a teenager. I was with the Amputee Coalition
mm,
youth camp, and they took us to Disneyland. This was back in early 2000s, when the camps were more travel based rather than camp based.
mhm.
And there was a whole group of us at Disneyland, and there was kids like, why are all those people walking on sticks? And then, of course, us being warped teenagers, we're like, don't go on Space Mountain.
You'll lose a leg. Oh my gosh, and that's always been the thing of, like, when I started this job and career, and I had to really get used to the humor that amputees have. Like, I was not prepared. I was like,
We are warped.
am I supposed to laugh at this? So,
Yeah.
yeah, they've broken me in pretty good now, but that was a learning curve. So I want to give you a moment to add anything else that we didn't cover. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about today?
Well, one of the things that just crosses my mind, because everybody thinks, like, what's the question you're asked most often? And you would think it'd be like, what happened to your leg? I'm like, no, people don't really ask me that very often. What they do ask is about my painted toenails.
Oh,
They're like, do you paint your toes? Do you have to change? They're very curious about, like, the frequency of changing the polish, like if if it's bad for the foot. I'm like,
mm.
it's fake, honey. Like, ain't nothing bad for that foot. I'll just replace it. Like, it's a plastic foot shell. If it gets some paint on it, like, I can get a new one down the road.
So when
Uh,
Mike, I'm curious when they do, because if you do you go to get a pedicure, right? Is it the same polish just goes
yeah,
on the prosthetic as it does on your
yeah,
toenail?
it's the
Okay.
same polish.
Okay.
They use, I mean, they say don't use the acetone on the shell because it could, like, eat away at the material.
Mhm.
Um, but most places don't use, like, full blown crazy stuff. It's more like, I don't know, whatever they use doesn't affect my monthly pedicures. And so I just have them put down a clear coat before they put on the
Ah.
polish because it'll stain the toes.
Mm.
So if I want dark purple one month, like, my toes will be stained an undertone of dark purple until the end of time.
Oh, okay.
And you can't just buff it away.
I feel like that's a
Right?
really important tip for
Yeah.
amputees to know how
And
to.
it's stuff you don't think about. And it's stuff whenever I go to a new pedicurist,
Hmm.
um, I have to say, please put down a clear coat before you put on that red polish,
Hmm.
because it'll stain my foot. And normally I wear, like, a darker color anyway, but there have been times where I wanted, like, a softer pink, and then it's like that color is, like,
Hmm.
through. It doesn't bother me too much, but I still just prefer to put the clear coat down to protect the fake toes.
Well, that is a tip I didn't see coming. So we
Yeah.
have a tip for, and do they charge you the same price for the
Unfortunately, yes,
both
where I
feet?
go, but I
Yeah.
have gotten half price pedicures before.
Okay. Okay.
But my argument there is that they're still painting those toes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And usually what they do is, if they can't do, like, the whole, like, massage and all that stuff, they just give me extra care on the other leg.
Oh, well, there you go. It works
So
out.
one girl, she would, like, I always do, like, the express pedicure because it's faster.
Hmm.
And that doesn't come with the filing of the skin or whatever. But she would do that because she didn't have to do the other stuff with my other foot.
Hmm.
So she would always file away the dead skin and stuff. So
That's amazing.
I was like, plus it's a service, and
Yeah. No, no, no. That's amazing. We was at the meetup in Columbus, Ohio. They had a picnic in May, and we went, and I overheard a conversation with several
mhm,
ladies talking about how they navigate getting their pedicures. So anyway, I think
yeah,
it's a valid conversation.
yeah. And if I go somewhere, I just don't feel comfortable asking for a half price
Oh
sometimes.
no.
It'll usually be like my friend that's with me. She'll be like, "Does she get half price?"
Oh. You're like, I'll
And
just
then
be
they
double.
panic and they say yes. So I save money.
Well, thank you so much for spending time. We've really filled this hour and a half. We probably could keep talking. There might be an episode 2.
Yes. Stay
um,
tuned for
Stay
later.
tuned. Well,
Next
and
time I'll sing.
oh, okay. We'll add some music to the podcast. And as we move forward with advocacy for residents of West Virginia, for so everybody can move, this is a timeless library recording in 2026 July, but I have full confidence that this story is just beginning, and we will be back to tell more in the process of advocating for amputees in West Virginia and all over the country. So thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of My Missing Piece. Be sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and join the conversation. Let's rewrite the narrative together.